Good morning and welcome to the New York Stock Exchange. We are here on the floor of the trading floor of the epicenter of the global financial markets. The U.S. market is now open. We just had Alamos Gold ring the opening bell. The CEO held down that button for 15 seconds, opening up the U.S. equity markets. Let's take a look at the big board right now. The market opened up slightly down from yesterday. It did close a bit higher, but now we have about a dozen. Howie, why don't we take a look right here at the dozen employees of Alamos that are here supporting their company, celebrating 20 years today, 20 years this month actually, since the company was founded in Canada. And for those of you who don't know, it's a Canadian-based gold producer, and they have been listed with us for about 10 years now. And this is just a celebration, just one of the many milestones that we are celebrating here today with Alamos Gold Incorporated and their whole team. And to be here on the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange is something that's very special because it's not open to the public. And we are unlike any other exchange in the world because we have what is called a designated market maker here on the floor that follows and trades the stock. On any given day, we could trade between 100 to 30 to 40 billion dollars in equity, depending on the day. And we have about 100 to 200 traders that are here on the floor. And right now, we have the CEO, John McCluskey, joining us today underneath the bell podium where you just rang the opening bell. How are you feeling today on this significant day, 20 years your company was founded?
Well, it's a very exciting day for us, and it was so great to be here with my board members and my management team and sharing, a really auspicious moment. It was awesome.
Well, we were talking earlier about how you have been with this company for 20 years. Let's talk about the early days and where you have come today.
Yeah, I started the company, and it was a little penny stock on the Vancouver Stock Exchange at that time, and I was operating initially out of a home office, and I was the only employee in the company. And we had an option on a project. It was a great project that we were able to secure a purchase agreement from one of the major mining companies at that time. It was amazing we ever got it. And a few years later, we turned that into an operating gold mine. And that was really the foundation of the company. And we've gone on to build that. That project is still in production today. It's produced over 2.5 million ounces of gold. So that's over $10 billion worth of gold that little mine has produced, and it's down in the Sierra Madre, so there's something quite historic about that. There's that old movie, The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Well, we ended up with the treasure. It was really like an amazing thing for me. I'm a big movie buff, so to end up mining gold in the Sierra Madre in Mexico was quite a dream. But we've gone on to build our company into Canada. We have producing mines in Ontario, Canada now. And those are really turned into the backbone of the company. They've got long life reserves, and this company's going to be around for a long time to come. We've got reserves that'll take us out to 2040.
Well, Sean, we were talking 20 years ago. You had less than $1 million in market cap. Fast forward 20 years. You've been listed here with the New York Stock Exchange for 10 years. You have now grown this capital to over $4 billion, and a lot of it's. You said when you first joined the New York Stock Exchange 10 years ago, you were only at about, $75 million in market cap, and now, again, that's over $4 billion?
Yeah, it was, in fact, we'd gone from roughly $1 million to, say, $750 million when we listed, and we've gone from $750 million in 2013, we're over $4 billion today, and we're still growing. And we've done that in a really volatile gold price environment, but we took the opportunity at the low price of gold to make acquisitions when nobody was really doing that. And we've subsequently turned those acquisitions into really profitable gold mines. And that's how we've continued to grow.
Like you said, it has been a volatile few years with the gold sector, but in January, we're hitting record numbers now. What's driving this surge?
Well, I think, in some respects, we're in a very uncertain world, and generally when the risk environment rises, you'll see that starting to benefit gold. You've also seen through the pandemic and even prior, there's been a huge printing of currency right across the world, whether you're talking yen or euros or whatever it happens to be, the US dollar as well. And while the US dollar still has showing a lot of strength against gold. In virtually every other currency, the gold price has dramatically outperformed. And if you look back over those 5 or 6 years, gold much stronger in every one of those currencies. But the U.S. dollar still remains a very important safe haven in times of crisis, which we're seeing right now. But it's it can't carry it all by itself, and it's good to have gold there. And central banks across the world have been accumulating gold and bolstering up their reserves. In addition to the U.S. dollar, they're holding gold now, and that is, I think, a trend we're going to see continue.
And can we talk about sustainability efforts that Alamos Gold Incorporated is doing?
Well, this has been a part of our way of operating since we started. And when we went to work in Mexico for the first time, we were up in the mountains, very, very remote. And the little communities in proximity to us were quite impoverished. There weren't very many job opportunities. Infrastructure was very poor. Their water source was unreliable and so on. We've transformed life in that part of the Sierras now. We've built up those towns. We've put in schools. We've put in medical facilities. We've built churches, town squares. You can't imagine the effort we've made to improve the life of the people in those communities. And the way we operate, it was already well established for decades before Alamos was a company that this industry had a very strong and very, I would say, a focus on environmentalism. There was already a really strong environmental consciousness, and we've continued to build on that. And we've been, over the last few years, we've significantly reduced our carbon footprint, where it's well below our industry peers. And over the next 6-7 years, we're going to bring it down further. We're going to reduce our carbon footprint another 30% by 2030, and that's not like an idle promise. That's a work in progress. We're tying into the Ontario power grid. Ontario is one of the cleanest jurisdictions in the world. Virtually all its power is coming from hydroelectric power. That's what's going to be powering our mines, and that gives us a huge advantage over companies that are operating in other parts of the world where you don't have access to clean power like that. So we're sort of building on the infrastructure that's available in Canada. And of course, operating in Canada and in Mexico for that matter, there's a strong focus on human rights, on workers' rights. We pay fair wages, we treat our workers really, really well. And I think as a consequence, we're a very strong and successful company.
And I love how that you're really building communities and making people's lives and livelihoods better in this world, which is what we try to do here at the New York Stock Exchange. But we talked about when you first started this company 20 years ago out of that bedroom, it was just you. You were the only employee. Now you've grown this company to over 2,000 employees. How does that make you feel, and what does it take to get to this place?
Well, it makes me think back to when, I was out job hunting, when I was, in my 20s, and there was a big recession on in the world in the early 80s. And I was just very grateful to get a job. My background wasn't in mining. I studied history and English literature at university, and I had no idea what I was going to do really. And I would have taken any job. I got a job in the mining industry, and I was very grateful just to have a job. And now, I provide over 2,000 jobs, direct jobs, and there's probably another 5 times as many jobs that exist because this company exists, because of all the wealth that we create and the multiplier effect of the job creation that Alamos provides. So that is an extremely satisfying feeling, and look, it all works. It all works because we have the rule of law in countries like Canada, the United States, and Mexico. We're all effectively trying to work towards a common goal, and that's to enrich our shareholders, but also to enrich the societies that we're a part of. And we couldn't do it without the New York Stock Exchange either. You need access to capital. Mining is a very capital-intensive business, and without the ability to raise capital to build those projects, we wouldn't be here.
And I love your story. It's truly the entrepreneurial story that is built on the American dream. And every day sometimes with an IPO, an entrepreneurial dream is realized here at the New York Stock Exchange. And for you to share your story, that's extremely special. And now to be here, ringing the opening bell, I mean, that's hugely significant, wouldn't you say?
It is. It's one thing to make it, but it's another thing to still be here 10 years later. We listed on the New York Stock Exchange in 2013. That was a very exciting moment. And there's no telling what's ahead. We were very optimistic, and our whole management team is very, very driven, very growth oriented. But 10 years after the fact, we are a richer, stronger company. We have more depth in our management group, more depth in our operations. Our reserves have grown dramatically. We had less than 2 million ounces of reserves going back to that point in time. And now we have over 10 million ounces in reserves alone and over 20 million ounces in reserves and resources. I mean, that is a dramatic growth driven by, our exploration team and some very astute acquisitions that we've made along the way. So, I look back at those 10 years since we originally listed, and the vision we had to grow the company has really been realized. And I'm just looking forward to the next 20 years.
What are you looking forward to come 2023? Well, we're in 2023 and years to come. What are you most excited about?
Well, we're going to have one of our best years ever. We're going to produce over 500,000 ounces of gold this year. That'll be a record for production for the company. Our costs have been coming down while our industry's been facing some pretty serious cost pressures. Our costs have been coming down, so we're going to have an extremely profitable year. I think the commodity itself is doing very well. I think gold has been strengthening over the last year or so, and while it's gone through some dips, it's generally heading in an upward direction. I think we're going to see record gold prices over the next 12 to 18 months, and that's also going to help our bottom line in a big way. I'm just fascinated at the opportunities that lie in front of us. I think you're going to see more consolidation in our sector, and we've been quite aggressive on that front. We've done some pretty value accretive transactions, and we're looking forward to doing more of that as well.
Speaking of transactions, Valentine's Day is just around the corner. Is there anything you would like to tell gold consumers?
Well, I don't know a guy out there that is going to lose if he buys his date or his loved one a beautiful piece of gold jewelry. You pick your choice. It's a ring, earrings. Everybody loves gold, and it makes beautiful jewelry. It looks good on everybody. So get out there and buy something nice for your sweetheart.
Well, we heard it here. We heard it here from the expert. Well, thank you so much, John, for being here today, and we look forward to having you back soon.
Thank you, too.
Okay, thank you so much, John. Yeah, continue the celebration. Again, congratulations on 20 years and 10 years here with us to the exchange, and then we will see you soon.
All right, thank you.
All right, take care. Bye-bye. All right, everyone. Well, that is all we have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, you could follow us on social media, NYSE, at the New York Stock Exchange, and we will see you soon.
Together, we built something truly beautiful in the true iconic notion of what America is all about.
This is our task, this is our mission. We have a clear focus, and we have the ability to be agile and innovate as a young startup.
It takes years of dedication to get us to this milestone. It is all because of you.
Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. It is the only thing that ever has.
To be a woman leader, it's not so easy, but it's easy if the passion and the love is coming from your heart.
The New York Stock Exchange is the symbol of what America is all about. Potential of capitalism, the potential of an American dream.
The only way you can move a society forward is a true expression of freedom.